Hey there, Star Wars fans. I know, it's been a while. My computer broke, but I got a new one. We're up, we're ready. We're going to be going over how the Jedi started. It's going to be an interesting story, so make sure you stick around. If you haven't already, subscribe. Like the video if you end up liking the video. Have fun, be safe, and check this out. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, the year was 36,453 BPY, when 8 Great Pyramid ships appeared. The Thoyor had arrived. When the Thoyor Pyramid ships appeared, they were scattered across the galaxy on planets like Kashyyyk, Ryloth, and even Dathomir, calling out to the inhabitants of the planet through the Force. Through the Force, the Thoyor convinced these Force-sensitive sentients to board their starships. Then the Pyramid ships departed the planets and set out into the galaxy. The Thoyor then traveled the galaxy, gathering Force sensitives of many other species. This included the human species and even the Sith species. Then the 8 Pyramid ships journeyed into the Deep Core together. In case you're wondering what the Deep Core is, which is also known as the Deep Galactic Core, it was a small region in the galaxy, about 7,000 light years across, which hid some unusual planets. The Deep Core was home to some 30 billion of the galaxy's oldest stars, and at its center was a supermassive black hole surrounded by antimatter, and a dense cluster of stars that were only a hundredth of a light year apart. In some areas, the stars were in such proximity they would collide and rip the cores from each other due to the gravitational pull of the vast number of stars. Local space-time was severely warped in this area, making hyperspace travel difficult at best. But the Deep Core held great strategic value because of the position near the core worlds. The 8 Thoyor pyramids traveled into the Deep Core to the planet of Tython, where a ninth and far larger Thoyor pyramid ship awaited them, as it floated above a pinnacle of stone. The arrival of the Thoyor pyramids was heralded by an immense force storm that swept over the entire planet, and the 8 Thoyor gathered around the ninth before scattering themselves across the planet. The Thoyor arrival, as the event came to be known, saw that each Thoyor dropped off their passengers at their final destination, while some Thoyor buried themselves in the landscape and the others remained floating in the air. The Force-sensitive pilgrims immediately realized that Tython was uniquely strong in the Force, and from then on they were known as Tythons. The Tythons also realized that they had been brought to Tython to study the Force, to learn to control it and master the abilities it granted them. However, Tython's beauty came with dangers, and the pilgrims' lives became a form of moving meditation, rather than sitting still and meditating. The pilgrims also realized that Tython itself reacted violently with force storms and quakes, due to the imbalance of the light side and dark side of the Force, which they named Ashla and Bogan after Tython's 2 moons. The pilgrims then formed the Jedi Order, taking their name from the Dai Bendu monks of the Talit species, combining the word Je, meaning mystic, and Dai, meaning center. The philosophy of balance became essential to their survival on Tython. See, Tython without balance and harmony between Ashla and Bogan, it wouldn't keep the peace and beauty of the planet, and instead would cause chaos and destruction that came along with imbalance. Over the next 1,000 years, centered around each one of the Thoyor pyramids, the Jedi built the Jedi temples, they built cities, and they built centers of learning and healing. The Jedi Academy was first established by the year 36,019 BBY, when Nordia Gra was serving as Padawan Kesh's first temple master. Around that time, Master Gra helped develop the tradition of the Great Journey. The Great Journey was for Padawans across Tython, visiting each temple along the way. All Jedi would have to do this upon graduating from Padawan to Journeyer. However, as years passed, the Jedi began having children who were not Force sensitive, and it soon became clear to the Tythons that the planet was not safe for those who could not touch the Force. Therefore, during the second millennium after the Thoyor arrival, a second migration occurred, and all those Tythons who were not able to touch the Force were made to leave the planet, even if it broke up families. These non-Force sensitives first settled on Ashla and Bogan before spreading out to the other worlds in the Tython system. During the era of peace, despite the services the Order provided to the other settled worlds, the existence of the Jedi on their isolated planet of Tython became a thing of legend. It wasn't until the reign of a queen, Hadia, a Twi'lek of the Shikakwa, that a full-blown conflict erupted between the Order and the non-Force sensitives that share the star system. In a system-wide conflict, known as the Despo War, Queen Hadia led her army against the Tythons in a series of campaigns in the year 25,805 BBY. Despite massive casualties on both sides, the Jedi Order was able to vanquish the Queen and her forces and return balance to Tython. So balance was restored, but turmoil festered on the planet of Tython just 12 years later when the Jedi Order found the wreckage of the first ship to enter their system since the Tho Yor brought their ancestors to the world. The ship of unknown origin crashed on Tython in an area known as the Rift, close to the temple of Anil Kesh. This mass death aboard the ship sparked a force storm of proportion not seen since the Tho Yor arrival. Representatives of the Order investigate the crash site and encounter a sole survivor, a mysterious man named Zesh who carried a bizarre weapon known as the Force Saber. If anybody wants to know what the Force Saber is, I do go over that in my episode of what did the Jedi use before a lightsaber, and that link will be down below if anybody is interested. Zesh was a Force-sensitive human male who was captured and enslaved as a child by the Infinite Empire of the Rakatan species, and in the year 25,793 BBY, the forces of the Rakatan Infinite Empire invaded the Tython system. And if anybody is interested about the Rakatan species, I have a video about that too, and that link will also be down below. The Rakata and their Flesh Raider soldiers attacked Tython, but were repelled by the Jedi Order. The Infinite Empire then fell back to the Force world of Skargora before conquering it and establishing this as their main command post. By the end of the first year, the Jedi had allied themselves with the forces of the settled worlds, placing Master Rajavari in command of these joint forces. The Order also constructed Force Sabers, the dark side weapons of the Rakata, and armed themselves with these weapons as they recalled the insane Deacon Locke to lead them into battle as Locke had foreseen. In the ensuing decade, the balance of the Jedi Order was shattered, splitting into two separate groups, one that only believed in Ashla as being the power of good, and the others that only found power in Bogan. In a tumultuous conflict known as the Force Wars, former allies were actually pitted against one another, and everything that the Jedi Order had stood for was divided. The Force Wars was considered to be the first conflict between the light side and dark side of the Force, and it all started once the Rakatan Infinite Empire showed up on Tython. The Force Wars were a 10-year-long series of conflict that took place on Tython, more than 7 centuries before the formation of the Galactic Republic. While the Rakatan threat was diminished, a schism grew within the Order. It was between those of Deacon Locke's followers and the Jedi Council. Eventually the two groups were defined by an ideology, divided by the use of Ashla, the light side of the Force, which is to achieve knowledge, or the followers of Bogan, the dark side of the Force, which is to seek a power. Both sides utilized the traditional metal swords augmented through the Force, as well as the Bogan side using the Force Sabers, and more on the Force Sabers, like I said, down in the description. Soon the Ashla Jedi were recognized as the Jedi, under the leadership of the High Council. Peace seemed likely until the defection of their revered master Rajavari. Holding up within Khalith, Rajavari's followers fought to the death and were subsequently defeated. In 25,783 BBY, the war had raged for nearly a decade, leaving the planet in a ruined waste. Having witnessed the destructive power of the dark side firsthand, with the ruination of their home world, a large group of Jedi set out from Tython to settle on other worlds far from the deep core, eventually establishing a headquarters on the far-flung world Ossus. The Jedi's successor group, the Jedi, would go on to defend the galaxy for a millennia to come. Okay, there you have it. The origins of the Jedi, coming from the Jedi. If you have any questions, let me know, because I did leave out quite a bit of stuff that I felt like didn't really need to be told unless I wanted to go into a deeper dive. If you want me to go into a deeper dive and do another video that's extended, let me know down in the comments. Also, if you made it this long, make sure to give me a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out my channel. I'm not joking. It helps it out. I don't know what the heck the YouTube algorithm's doing over there, but it does something. I don't know. Give me a like, though. All right? You guys have fun. Be safe and get the f*** out of here.